Hello, Covington County. Welcome to Good News Covington County with Brother John, Cousin Jared, Cousin Tom, coming to you from number 12 Court Square here in Andalusia, Alabama, on this beautiful, bright and sunny, shiny May 8th, 2018. Got plenty of news today. Just hang on to your hat and make sure you're strapped in for all the news reading that'll be going on. Our first story out of the Andalusia Star News is special from the state's attorney's office, basically. The district attorney had an article about the CBD oil. And I looked at it at first and I thought it stood for CDB, and it was a Charlie Daniels band oil, but it's not. It's, and I've tried to get this right. It's cannabidiol oil. That's oil made from the cannabis plant. And if you don't know what cannabis is, it's marijuana, Mary Jane, that anti-God weed, pregnant blue Winstons, whatever you want to call it, it's marijuana. And I'm going to read this article because it's important. District Attorney Walt Merrill on Monday put those who sell or use CBD oil on notice. Sooner or later, raids will come. CBD oil, also known as cannabidiol oil, is a derivative of the marijuana plant. The district attorney said he began looking into the legality of CBD and the implications for merchants who sell it after Lieutenant Chris Inhabitant of the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency asked the question. Lieutenant Inhabitant advised that he had received some claims about merchants selling CBD oil, and he approached me about how to respond. Merrill said, he and I are both concerned that those clerks are being put in a situation where they could be charged with the distribution of controlled substances. The store owners could be charged as well. In effect, they are simply selling low-dose marijuana in liquid form. Merrill said that Carley's Law and Lenny's Law, which were adopted by the state of Alabama legislature and signed into law by Governor Robert Bentley, specifically created an exception to the laws prohibiting the possession of marijuana for personal reasons, and states that an individual with a chronic or debilitating condition, including one that produces seizures for which a person is under treatment, has a legal defense if they are arrested for possession of CBD oil. However, the legislature did not create any exception to the laws prohibiting the sale of marijuana. So you might have a prescription for the CBD oil, but it's still, you don't have an exception from the marijuana laws, I guess is what I'm trying to say. In fact, Lenny's Law specifically says it is the intent of the legislature to maintain existing criminal prohibitions of marijuana, except as expressly provided in existing law or as expressly provided in this section. Merrill noted that selling any form of marijuana, including liquid form, is among the existing criminal prohibitions that the legislature specifically left intact. According to a press release issued by the district attorney's office Monday, Barry Matson, executive director of the Alabama Office of Prosecution Services, also came to the same conclusion after reviewing the issue at Merrill's request. Recently, the Alabama law enforcement personnel in Shelby County raided a wholesale distributor and seized 25 cases, not 25 bottles, 25 cases of CBD-laced products. Merrill said, we are trying to let the merchants and the citizens know the true scope of the law so we can avoid something similar happening here. This is our public service announcement, he said at this time. Our hope is that businesses will pull CBD items from the shelves and return them to whomever they brought them from. If they don't, they will get raided soon enough. Then they may be charged and prosecution would, of course, follow. As for citizens who think they can legally possess CBD oil, Merrill cautioned them too. There's a narrow health exception where the law provides a defense for personal use possession of CBD oil. It is not enough for someone just to claim they need it. To legally possess CBD oil will require medical proof of the chronic or debilitating condition. Merrill said it is not just a violation of the state law that citizens should be concerned about because CBD is a component of the plant marijuana. It also remains an illegal Schedule 1 drug, according to the United States Drug Enforcement Association. Anyone possessing, transporting, or selling or trafficking in CBD who is not otherwise authorized by the law to do so is subject to federal prosecution. Merrill also said that many products that claim to contain CBD are in fact something else. I've talked to the district attorneys and law enforcement around the state, as well as scientists with the Department of Forensic Sciences. There's an alarming safety issue, aside from the obvious, that also exists with these products. Oftentimes we send something that is labeled as CBD oil to the Department of Forensic Sciences for testing. Then we learn later that the items contain other synthetic drugs or compounds. As for the stuff you buy at the convenience store, I doubt there is any quality control that goes into making it. People shouldn't ingest it, period. And that's that entire article, and that's also our first segment. We'll be back with you and a guest in a minute. Welcome back to Good News Covington County with Brother John, Cousin Tom, and Cousin Jared, and Sister Harriet. And in this case, it actually is my sister Harriet. My sister Harriet here is a guest. My sister is welcome whenever I see her. It doesn't matter what, when, or where, because she's my sister and I love her. I love her better than I do chocolate. And Harriet is here as a representative or as the chair of the Covington County Democratic Party, or the Covington County Democrats. We've given a lot of time and press to the people that are running for the Republican positions in Congress and sheriff and that kind of stuff. We don't want to forget that we're in a two-party state. Actually, there are more than two parties, but there are two primary parties that post candidates and have platforms within the state. And the Democratic Party is the other one. Now, Alabama used to be a Democratic state.
That's right.
And things kind of changed. In 1964, more than anything, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was kind of a landmark, or a place that you could mark in the sand and say that this is when things changed, when Lyndon Johnson signed that into law. A lot of the Alabama Democrats started moving and becoming Republicans in a landmark shift in the political geography. Since that time, the party of Roosevelt and many others has struggled in the state of Alabama. But it's important. My sister and I don't always agree on everything political. And I do have to make this disclaimer right now, or I've got to do it somewhere. The opinions that you'll hear here are not necessarily the opinions of the management and ownership of this station. They'll be the Democratic Party's opinions, and that's just the way it is in the communications business. But I want to get all that off the deck to tell you that I'm glad to have Harriet Hubbard, my sister, here. I'm glad to have Harriet Hubbard, the chair of the Covington County Democrats, here as well. And I'm going to kind of turn it over to her and let her talk about, who y'all are and what you believe and what your platform is. And we'll stop, for commercials and go on like that, Harriet. But welcome.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be here today and a pleasure to talk to you. And the Democratic Party has had a long history here in Covington County. And it has been a number of years before we've been real active. And but things change, and we feel a change coming on here so far as the Democratic Party and in our whole nation. And back in the fall of the year, several Democrats got together and went and we talked to Mr. Billy Hughes, who's been the chairman here in Covington County for years and years. And he told us that he was really interested in giving up this position. And so our group met together, and I was nominated to take over the position. And of course, through the regular process, was named the chair of this party. And since then, we've done a lot of reorganization. We've gotten a slate of officers, and I'm the president, and Steve Hubbard is the secretary. John Carpenter is our treasurer, and Teresa Talbert is our vice president. We have a good group of folks that are hard workers, and we meet once every month at 6 o'clock, and it's the first Monday of the month, and we meet at the
Monday. You said Sunday.
I'm sorry, Monday. Yeah.
Thank you.
We meet at the Covington County Commissioners board, the boardroom there.
That's on Hillcrest Drive, right? Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. I think it's 240 Hillcrest Drive, but it's out there close to the jail. When I say that, people know what I'm talking about. And
you're not meeting in jail, though?
No, not yet, not yet. But we have an active membership of about 20 people, and what I mean by active is that's the usual population that we have attend our meetings, which I think is pretty good. People just don't go to meetings like they used to. But this group has gotten involved in a lot of statewide activities, and personally, our group here is involved in voter registration, voter restitution of rights of criminals, and getting people out to vote. We think that's a real big thing. We can't know what citizens really want as a whole if they don't get out and vote, or if just a portion of the people vote. And so we're working real hard on that, and I'd like to address that more in a little while. We do have membership goals, membership drives, and you too can become a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party.
And we would like to have be able to take a picture of that so we can put it on our Facebook page and
we'd love for you
in
to
the
do
article as well.
We'd love for you to do that. But we've got a real impetus going behind us right now, and we're busy doing things.
And we're going to take a break right now, and we'll do some other things after the break, Harriet.
Thanks.
You. Welcome back to Good News Covington County, a May 8th edition. We're sure glad to have our special guest here, Harriet J. Hubbard, chair of the Covington County Democratic Party, or the Covington County Democrats, and my sister. Glad to have her here. She's talking about the Democratic Party in Covington County, how it's been reorganized and re-energized and moving forward. And since I was a child, I knew it was best to let Harriet do the talking, and I would just sit there and listen. And so that's what we're going to do right now, Harriet. You were talking about some of the things that y'all are working toward when we left.
Right. We have worked together with another group called the Covington County Grassroots Alliance. And this is a group of free-thinking people. They're not Democrats or Republicans. They're independent thinkers. And one of their goals also is voter registration. So we worked with them and went into many of the county schools and registered seniors to vote. We were able to register almost 70 seniors.
Wow.
And we did not go into Florella, but they have a class there that's part of the class is registering the seniors there. But I think that's a big number, and of course the registrar's office was delighted to get those forms. And this is the new generation of our society and our voters, these millenniums that are coming through. And these young people are, they're fierce. They're loud. They're passionate. And they're not like us. You know, they don't like people to tell them what to do.
No, we didn't like that.
But we did what we were told a lot more than they did. Some of them do.
You know,
Except for John, he didn't. You know, he was the exception. I was always the one that did everything right. Right, John?
pretty much. And I was the one that pushed the limits.
That's right, and I told on him all the time, so he had a hard life growing up. But
Started with that first Playboy and just kind of went upward
I
from
know.
there.
Have y'all heard the Playboy story?
No, we aren't going to tell it today.
I'll be glad to come back and tell it. I've got so many stories on this man. It would probably take more than one day to get them all out.
Oh, it would. I'm afraid so.
But we are working with the seniors, and when we go in, we don't say we're Democrats or we're Republicans. We just try to let them know how important it really is to vote. And, you know, they haven't had real good examples because most of their parents, or many of their parents, have become so complacent as voters, and they've heard at home, well, our vote doesn't count, or, you know, what the use, nobody's really going to listen to us down here in South Alabama. But if you look nationwide, you can tell that every vote does matter. There have been a lot of elections that have just been won by less than 100 votes.
Oh, yeah.
And so it is important.
There was a congressional race in Pennsylvania that was won by 6 votes this last time. I mean, now there are laws that say that if it's, you know, within certain parameters, they have to have a recount anyway. But I think it's a very important point that you made there, Harriet. The parents of the young people that y'all are registering now are generally about 40 years old.
Yes.
And I don't, that's not an editorial comment, it's just an observation that when we came through high school, well, not only did we come through during the civil rights era when they but they really made a big deal out of teaching us about the political process, Congress, the divided powers of the republic, and those, not republicans, republic, autonomy, and those things. They don't get that anymore, and so it was pretty interesting to you and I.
It was.
Of course, we lived in a world where our uncle and our dad were pretty well involved in local politics too.
I can remember when John and I were kids, and on election night, they had this huge chalkboard on the back of what is Regions Bank. It was Commercial Bank down in those days. And they had a person on a ladder.
Keltis Powell.
Was that who it was?
Yeah.
And they went through and wrote in chalk, you know, as the different beats came in.
That's right.
And added it up. And there would be a whole crowd of
Oh,
people.
there'd be 150, 200 people gathered down there.
To watch as the boxes were opened and they were brought there and the numbers were put on the board.
Right.
And that was exciting. You know, elections were exciting. And
Well, you seem like you know, it was the choice of words you used earlier was about, you know, the parents thinking that telling their children their votes don't count. But at that level, you realize that your vote does count.
That's right.
You know, it's a very important, it's an important lesson. And of course, they drag us down there and give you a 6-ounce Coca-Cola and a pack of cheese crackers, and you stand there and watch them. You
That's
know,
right.
Daddy, can I go to the bathroom? No, shut up, Goldie.
Well, there weren't any bathrooms around. And I can remember learning just simple things by watching the numbers go up there, that there would be a beat that came in and there would be like 34 votes. And I'd say, well, do you mean only 34 people voted? And Dad would say, yeah, that's right, but that's a real small community.
Yeah.
And so you learned, you know, which beats were City of Andalusia, or which were Heath, or different things like that.
Right.
And it was really, really exciting, and had a big spotlight out there, and it would last. Of course, you know, they hand counted the votes, and it would go on until midnight. Late, and it was a great experience. And I think probably that's one way that we became involved. Another was that.
Well, we're going to stop for a break right now.
Excuse me.
I'm not trying to shut you up. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back to Good News Covington County with the usual characters plus Sister Harriet. Glad to have you here. We were discussing, Harriet is chair of the Covington County Democrats. She was discussing voter registration, those kind of things. And we ran off chasing a rabbit about political process in Covington County when we were children, and how involved it seemed like the community was as opposed to now. You know, back then you said they hand counted the ballots. And, I can remember we would hand count the ballots, and if something's wrong, they'd come back and count them again, and they'd find, well, there's not 134 people in that beat. And they'd come back and be, an error or something like that. But sometimes it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning before you know.
Yeah.
Nowadays, with mechanical voting at 9 o'clock,
It's over.
it's over with, None of the suspense that used to go along with that. But Harriet, we've got some things that I know you won't feel very important about. You need to inform the public about things that you and the Covington County Democratic Party are doing. So I'll turn it back over to you.
John and I, of course, could go on and on about the good old days, and there have been a lot of good old days.
Sure have.
But I do want to tell you about some important dates that are coming up, and but from May the 22nd to June the 2nd, our party will begin to do some phone banking, where we'll be getting together in groups, and we'll be calling people that we know are Democrats in this area. We use a computerized program that we bought from the state Democratic Party that lists the people who voted in the last Democratic Party. So we have that information, and we'll be encouraging these people to get out and vote. And on June the 5th is when everybody needs to vote in the primary.
Right.
And we want you to vote whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, because we believe that when everybody votes, that's what we really know. That's when we really know what people want.
By the way, just as a note, you cannot vote across party lines in the primary. That's a penalty that's punishable actually by jail time and a fine. So if you're a registered Democrat, you can't vote in the Republican primary, and if you're a registered Republican, you can't vote in the Democratic primary. You can swap lines later on in the actual election, but you can't even do that if there's a runoff.
Right. What and the process is that when you go to vote, you declare whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, and you were given a ballot as to what you say. You'll have a slate of officers for Democrats and a slate for Republicans, and you can't vote for both. When they have the runoff, you'll vote again, and you'll vote for the people who were the top top two people there. And there's some good candidates for both groups, and I think that Democratic Party has some strong candidates for governor. And
well, I think you Judge Sue Bell Cobb's.
She is. She's a good one, and we have other good ones too. So the 17th, July the 17th, is the runoff, and then November the 2nd, 4th, and 5th, our party will do phone banking again and canvassing in the neighborhoods, getting people ready for the November 6th election day. Another thing that some of our people are doing, and this is just so that we learn more about the voting process, we have several people from our group that are going to poll school, and you know, the people that have been there for that you speak to when you go to the polls have been trained. Some of them have done these jobs for 20 years. And we're going to go to poll school. And that doesn't mean that we're...
As long as you don't become a poll cat, that's good.
Well, that's true, John. But we're going to go to the school just so that we learn more about the process. Just because you go to school doesn't mean that you'll be invited to become to work at the polls. But we have several people that are going to that just because we want to learn more about the process. We're planning on having a gathering, a picnic in July, and probably the first part of July, and we're hopefully are going to have a group to participate in the 4th of July parade.
Good.
And our group has joined or is joining the Andalusia Area Chamber of Commerce. We want to be a viable part of this community, and we want to be there out there so people will know if they have political questions, any questions about voting laws, and the guidelines for Alabama voters who have been convicted of crimes that would like to get their rights reinstated. You can ask us about those type things too. But it's an exciting group, an exciting time, and I'm really proud to be a part of the group. And we've come a long way. We've got a long way to go, but we've got a good group of people that are energetic and positive and want to make some positive changes in our political.
Well, I can say I've been to a couple of their meetings, and folks, they're not a bunch of Stalinists out there ready to overthrow the government. There's some mighty fine people meet there, and that's not an endorsement one way or the other, but it's the truth. Harriet, we're glad you could come on. We'd love for you to come on again and maybe not discuss. We want you to come on and feel free to discuss the Democratic Party again. But, you know, if you ever want to come on and just tell stories about me, we'll be glad to do that.
And I would be glad to do it. Trust me.
All right. Well, look,
Andalusia needs to know.
Not that much. We're gonna leave y'all for a few minutes and be back after that. Thanks, Harriet.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Good News Covington County. Glad to have you here. Now for some more news. In Andalusia Star News, this morning's edition, there's a story by Lacey Stinson about a Sunday evening accident that resulted in 3 people being airlifted from near Rosin Ridge Road in Red Level, or right by the Loango community. Bigsman Dwayne Jones, age 55 or 56, was driving a pickup when he lost control and hit 2 pedestrians. All 3 were seriously injured. Jones was thrown from the vehicle, and the other 2 people were hit by the vehicle. They're all in pretty bad shape, and they've been life flighted to Montgomery. The 2 pedestrians that were hit were Tracy Berner, age 25, and Joshua Aaron Shields. Investigations are still going on. Relative to that, there was also another man airlifted after an ATV wreck at Boggs and Boulders on Saturday. His name was Dustin Davis, and when the accident occurred, he had a bad accident. He got pinned under his RV and had to have 42 staples in his scalp. I think that just about constitutes being scalped when you get it done like that. It was just an accident, and that's what David says. It was an accident. It says it was something they'd done 100 times before, but this time something went wrong. He's still hospitalized, or he was on Monday. He doesn't remember when the ambulance got there, or all he knows is that he was pretty terrified by what the events were. Davis was airlifted to Baptist South in Montgomery, Alabama, where they put 42 staples in his head. He said that a helmet would have prevented his injuries, but it was something he would have never guessed would have happened. That's why they're called accidents, I guess. The one thing I would tell everybody that's going out there this summer is just to pay attention and be careful. Davis said it was one of those freak accidents that happened. I'm just glad we're both all right. The passenger was injured as well, and we're able to continue and go on after our injuries are healed. I'd call that an adventure. Bonds and Boulders requires attendees to sign a release and a waiver of liability because of these kind of accidents, and that release also removes them from the assumption of risk and indemnity that says the attendee assumes full responsibility for any risk of body injury, property damage, or anything else. I would advise wearing a helmet if it was me, because I've got mush in my head anyway, and I don't want it to turn into oatmeal. But they don't call them brain buckets for nothing. Also in local news, this story by Lucy Stinson. It is dry out there. I mean, it is very dry, folks. I know that they're trying to get the stadium built, but we need rain in Covington County. Our folks that stir the dirt and farm for a living need rain. Pastures need rain. It's just plain dry out there, and the fire danger is high. They had a fire in the Heath area on Strong School Road on Monday evening that endangered a number of houses, woods, and other property. It was so bad, in fact, that the Heath Volunteer Fire Department had to call some help in from Ghent, Antioch, and other areas. 4 units totally dispatched to try to control the fire. They finally got it under control, but it was an iffy thing. Right now, there's a wildfire in Escambia County, Florida, that's consumed up 70 to 100 acres. They were fighting it last night, trying to get it in control. So it's not just our area that's dry. The fire in this particular case started in a brushy area near the road. The cause is undetermined, but local firefighters warn against burning because of the dry conditions and the low humidity. The fire danger is high right now, and be careful if you're burning in the woods. Then a real sweet story about Red Level High School's Susan Wyndham, who's preparing to retire from teaching up there after 36 years. She loved the students, she says, and the students, I'm sure, loved her. 36 years of teaching takes a very, very special person, and Susan Wyndham has done a good job up there. She said the part that she enjoyed the most with her students was watching them have that light bulb come on when they grasped an idea or concept she was trying to get them. She also said the most frustrating part was having students that could get right up to the edge of being able to understanding something and then not being quite able to grasp it. I'll tell you, educators are very special people, and they do some special things. I guess they're the kind of unsung heroes of civilization, in my opinion. But in this particular case, you've got a lady that's done a great job up there. I want to quote her here. "When you can see the potential in a kid, but they can't reach it, is what gets me," Wyndham said. "Some kids just don't have the right home life, and you can't help that." She said that she looks forward to laying by the pool when she retires, and she was going to get a part-time job as a receptionist. And this is her final words: "I will definitely miss seeing a former students. I still have students come in here every day and talk to me, so it'll be hard to leave that." And I believe that to be the truth about good teachers and good educators. We're going to take a break now and be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Good News Covington County, our news program for May 8th. Glad to have you here with us. Reading from the Andalusia Star News, our primary source of information. There's and I'd call this an inspirational article written by Christopher Smith, and it's about Chelsea Huggins. Chelsea Huggins was involved in an accident a couple of years ago when the Jeep she was in left the roadway and paralyzed her. It was an injury to a spinal column that paralyzed her. What can you say about somebody that goes through something like that? They can take life and make something incredibly good out of it, or I wouldn't blame them a bit if they just decided to make themselves and everybody else miserable, the young person in particular. But she was talking in this article about these new mats that they've introduced to the beach down at Gulf Shores that will support a wheelchair as they go down to the beach, and allows people that are wheelchair bound to enjoy the things at the beach that we take for granted, and that are a real effort for them. Gulf Shores has put in some these mats, and they've really been helpful to her. I want to quote her right here. I've been to the beach numerous times over the past years, but since my injury, I've not been able to get onto the beach without assistance. When Huggins was 18, she was a passenger in a Jeep that left the roadway and left her badly injured. The accident left Huggins paralyzed from the chest downward, and she had to spend 4 months in the Shepherd Center in Atlanta. These mats that we're talking about 5 feet wide, and they're made of plastic and held together with 12-inch stakes. This allows her to get 200 feet closer to the beach down there on the world's most beautiful beaches. Now, Chelsea's done some outstanding things. She paints now, and she's told a lot of her friends about that are also paralyzed about this, and they're going down to the beach now, an opportunity they've not had in years. And it looks as if the Gulf Shores, the group down there that manages the beaches, will be putting in several more of these pads as a result of this. Huggins is a student at Troy University and intends to graduate with her bachelor's degree in psychology in May of 2018. That's 19 rather. Afterwards, she plans to apply to Troy's graduate program and with a major in rehabilitation. Top athletes, another story by Josh Dutton. Top athletes on display. Locals make strong showings at track and field finals. Several local athletes put on strong performances in the 2018 Alabama High School Athletic Association Class 1A-3A state track and field meets this weekend in Cullman, with Pleasant Home's River Baldwin, who is a spectacular athlete, picking up a gold medal finish. In the Class 1A girls shot put, Baldwin threw a distance of 32 feet 8.5 inches to pick up the state title. That throw is just 5 feet short of the state record in 2004, set in 2004. Along with her gold medal finish, Baldwin also picked up a bronze in the girls' discus throw with a distance of 91 feet. Ross Wilson also medaled for the Eagles as he picked up a third place finish in the boys' 400 meter dash with a time of 52.63 seconds. Pleasant Home also got a bronze medal in the boys' 4x800 meter relay with a time of 9 minutes 15.156 seconds. Red Level also medaled during the weekend with Joel Phillip earning a silver in the boys' 110 meter hurdles with a time of 16:16. The following athletes competed in the state meetings but did not medal in their events. Cheyenne Reagan from Florella and Chance Bedsoe from Florella. From Red Level, Madison Shepard, Ramsey Mara, Brody Ingram. Ramsey Mara again placed 9th in the boys' long jump. And then from Pleasant Home, Peyton Huckable finished 20th in the girls' discus. Matthew O'Rourke finished 10th in the 800 meters. Nathaniel Irwin came in 2nd place in the 21st place in the 800 meters. Logan Bowling finished 11th in the boys' 3200 meter. Caleb Powlin came in 7th place in the javelin throw. And from Strawn, Abigail Thomas finished 13th. Ariana Billups finished 10th in the girls' javelin. Tucker Reynolds came in 10th in the boys' 3200 meter. Justin Peoples finished 11th in the boys' 3200 meter. Ryan Mitchell came in 11th place in the boys' discus. Hunter Stevens finished 23rd in the boys javelin, and Maxwell Russell finished 20th in the boys javelin. LBW, our Saints fell to Chattahoochee Valley in game one. They fell 2-1, and in game two they fell 11-2. They just couldn't get the bats going. But the way they've been playing this year, you can expect them to go deep into the playoffs. Finally, our weather forecast for today. If you haven't guessed it, it's clear out there, and it's going to get warm, about 90 degrees. We'll have a calm wind becoming westerly around 5 miles an hour in the afternoon, and tonight it'll be mostly clear with a low about 61. Wednesday will be mostly sunny with a high near 89 or 90. Calm wind becoming southwest around 5 miles per hour in the afternoon. Wednesday night mostly clear and a low around 62. Southwest wind around 5 miles per hour becoming calm after midnight. Folks, we've kind of rushed through the news, but it's been a good news day, and we had a great interview. Hope you enjoyed it. We appreciate you watching. We always do. I ask you to come back and watch us again as we try to make a better and better product for you. Remember two things: be kind to one another and shop local. Thanks.